Today's show brought to you by redcon1.com. That's right. Click the link at the bottom of the podcast app in which you are listening to this on. Check them out. Use promo code T20Quartermiss. That's right. redcon1.com.
There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I'm Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, and Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the DTOM Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon. This is Don't Tread on Merica. Then, how's everybody doing out there today? It is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026. Welcome back, guys, to the show. How's everybody doing out there today? A little chilly out right now, isn't it? And I'm saying this from Florida. All right, guys. A couple things real quick before we get to the show. Please make sure you're following the show on social media. Don't Tread on America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the Ticker Talker. And, of course, on the Twitter X Machine, DTOM Podcast 1776. Also on Rumble, Don't Tread on America TV. Also, guys, make sure whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, that you're following the show, you're subscribed. Whatever that fancy little button there says. No charge. There's no Patreons going on here. I'm just a dude doing a show. I'm just a dude with a full-time job and a part-time podcast just trying to get the actual truth out there. This isn't some paid program sponsored by mainstream media or Oracle or any big time names. We have a couple of sponsors and that's what we do. But for the most part, this show is self-funded by me and you guys listening. So, also, if you're not on social media, that's fine. You can go to the website, DontTreadonMerica.com. From there, you can access everything. You can access the video clips and everything if you so choose to see them. And you can go to the DTOM Store. From there, you can purchase show merchandise. Now, I don't take any profits from that. That all goes to Tunnels of Towers. I don't even take anything. I just want you to get the merch, wear it, so people will ask you what the hell that shirt is you're wearing. If you have any questions, concerns, anything you want to hit me up with, please do so. You can hit me up on the email. You can email me, DonQ at DontTreadonMerica.com. Right now, though, we're going to get it started. A little bit of Damn Yankees. Courtesy of one Ted Theodore Nugent. It's the Don't Tread on America version. To crank it up while you're on that ride home from work, maybe to work, maybe while you're at work. I got a good show. It's going to correspond with everything we've been talking about lately. It's about deep fakes, AI, and is the internet dead? We'll get into it here in just a minute. Of course, we'll talk. Chorus. Let's go. What is up, America? This is Donq, your no BS host of Don't Tread on America, coming to you live from the heartland where freedom still means something. Today, we're diving headfirst into that rabbit hole. That's not just some tinfoil-hat fever dream, it's the cold, hard reality staring us down in 2026. The title of this episode, The Dead Internet, AI bots, synthetic showdowns, and the real assault on American democracy. Buckle up, folks, because we're going to go into this deep. We're talking the dead internet theory, every twisted conspiracy tied to it, the hidden threats lurking online, and how they're all teaming up to gut our democracy like a fish. I'll back it up with a few articles, some audio clips, and straight facts. No bluffs, no filters. Guys, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button on that Twitter X feed there, DTOM Podcast 1776, and let's get real. The internet isn't what it used to be. Back in the day, it was our Wild West, free speech, real connections, memes that actually came from humans. Now, it's a graveyard haunted by bots and AI ghosts. Let's break it down here after Uncle Ted's solo. That's what we do around here. Wish I could do that quicker. Just not good enough. Just the three of us here. Me, myself, and I. Alright, Patriots. Let's start at ground zero. The dead internet theory isn't new, but it's exploding now because, hell, it's coming true. This bad boy popped up around 2016, 2017 in dark corners like 4chan and Agora Road forums. The core claim? The web died around then. And what we're scrolling through today is mostly fake. Bots chatting with bots, AI pumping out content to keep us hooked on ads or worse, to control what we think, to control our emotions. Picture this. You log on to the Twitter X machine there, you see a viral thread about politics. Likes, retweets, comments everywhere. But half of those accounts are not human. They're bots. And not the dumb ones like the old days. These are smart, powered by LLMs like ChatGPT, mimicking real folks down to the typos and emojis. The evidence? Studies show bot traffic hit 52% of the web by 2025, surpassing humans. And get this, a 2012 blog predicted 99% AI content by now. That seems spot on. But why 2016? That's when algorithms went nuclear after the election. Cambridge Analytica showed how data manipulates minds and bots exploit it in politics. Now, platforms like Facebook are flooded with images like Shrimp Jesus, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. AI slop, crustaceans masked with religious icons, just to gain engagement. It's not funny, it's sinister. The internet feels dead because real human spark is gone, replaced by synthetic noise. To drive this home, I'm actually going to play a clip from the BBC's More or Less podcast episode. I'm not going to actually play that. I have a different clip I want to play. The reason I'm not playing that clip is because it's like an hour and a half long podcast, and it was too hard for me to find this specific thing. But even the Brits are waking up to this situation. And here is a post from Twitter from at Old Grouchy Guy. So apparently there's two of us on Twitter. The dead internet theory has transitioned from a niche conspiracy to a visible reality. As of 2026, bot traffic has officially surpassed human activity. And he nailed it. He actually put on here that, I basically read that. We'll unpack how this ties to a bigger plots next, but first, our first commercial break. All right, guys, time for a quick shout out to our sponsors, keeping this show ad-free from big tech censorship. First up, Alp. Of course, right? Alp nicotine pouches. Folks, if you're ditching the smoke but need that edge, Alp's got you covered. Smooth, discreet, and American-made vibes. Go to Alp nicotine pouches /DTOM or outpouch.com/DTOM for 20% off your first order. Go to outpouch.com/DTOM. Don't tread on your buzz. Grab Alp today. They are coming out with some 12s here, from what I understand, pretty soon. So if 3s, 6s, or 9s aren't enough for you guys, 12s are coming out. Just hang tight. We'll be back in just a second. All right, back at it. The dead internet isn't isolated. It's triangled with other theories that make your skin crawl. Take the AI-run web. Elites and governments use bots for mind control, not just ads. Remember the shrimp Jesus we were just talking about? That's AI testing. How far it can be pushed absurdity to hook us. Then there's synthetic politics. Bots creating fake consensus to sway elections. A 2025 article in The Loop warns it's eroding democracy's foundations. Tied to that, bot swarms from Russia, China, Iran are flooding Twitter with division. Another post from Twitter at Mossab Hassan Youssef state-backed bots from adversarial nations are a real threat to national security. And don't forget the simulation hypothesis link. Dead internet as proof we're in a matrix with Mandela effect glitches. Or the deep state AI where bots push narratives like flat earth to distract. Now, what I find interesting is in this day and age of computers and these different apps, it used to be on Twitter, and I do believe Twitter is better since Elon Musk has purchased it than it was before, but one of the claims that Musk had put out when he first purchased it, that they were going to clean up all this, but it's either gotten worse intentionally by Musk, and maybe he's part of this situation, or the bots are smarter than the people programming the computers. And the reason I say that is it used to be on Twitter when you would see different posts from whoever, from just random people, not from anyone you followed or, friends or anything like that. It always told you where that person originated from. Maybe not their address, but it basically gave you an idea. London, England, Florida, United States, whatever. And it gave you a sense that whether it was real or not, but it gave you more of a sense that it was coming from an actual person. Now you just randomly scroll Twitter and Facebook, but let's focus on Twitter mainly at this point. And you may follow certain people or who you think are people because they post interesting things or they're interesting to you. And you follow that person or what you think is a person. And they constantly post different clips of whatever the topic is. And how do you know that these are bots? Or how can you get an idea that these are bots? Because number one, a lot of the times there's no interaction. There's just a random post by whatever page, and then it's a lot of people. We currently call it rage bait. Rage bait. Someone will post something outlandish, and then you just see that there's, 1,000, 10,000, whatever comments, likes, dislikes, retweets, whatever. And it's because most people, like I said the other day, most people get a lot of their news from social media. And when they see something, especially if it's something that they either 100% agree with or 100% disagree with, they react to that post somehow or another. What I like to do is read the comments. And if there's no interaction from the author of that tweet, then I have to assume that is from a bot. Or if there is some interaction from the author, it's generic in its wording. There's not an actual conversation going on there. And I want to play this clip here. This is from YouTube. Let me stop the music. Stop the music! And this is from CNET. And they ask the question, is the internet dead?
Here at CNET, we've done plenty of coverage on artificial intelligence, but this old internet conspiracy might alter your view on the current reality we're living in. The dead internet theory is from 2021, but with the rise of generative AI, it's gaining popularity again. Online theorists believe that the internet actually died in 2016, and I know. How is that possible when you're watching this video? Well, the theory suggests that the internet as we know it is mostly made up of AI bots. All the info we're being fed, the images we're seeing, and the videos. It gets even crazier. It also suggests that most of our exchanges on the internet are with bots and not actually with humans. The resurgence of this theory all started with Shrimp Jesus. If you're not familiar with Shrimp Jesus, it's the infamous AI-generated Facebook image of Shrimp Jesus and other similar concepts floating around the internet. Who knew this image of Shrimp Jesus could open the doors to what we call the Facebook AI art slop? This AI art slop is home to some of the most meme-worthy AI-generated images online, such as Hala the horse, the 386-year-old granny baking their own birthday cake, and of course, all the random images of wooden cars. This old conspiracy is sweeping discussions among online creators on TikTok and has even found a home on multiple Reddit threads. I know, crazy, right? Online creators on TikTok point to annoying bots in their comments and other odd things they've noticed. Here's Side Money Tom with his take.
These bots have made tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of fake accounts that no human has access to, no one knows the password to. The AI is now feeding itself, and posts like this are getting hundreds of thousands of likes.
And he's not the only one. Plenty of users claim that these Facebook accounts are run by AI bots. According to Imperva's 2024 Bad Bot report, nearly half of all internet traffic came from bots in 2023. That report also showed that the rapid adoption of generative AI and other large language models has increased the number of simple bots. Online believers would probably disagree, but an AI expert and technology futurist I spoke with suggests a different idea. Sophie from the Copenhagen Institute of Future Studies believes that the internet is not dead, but evolving. So, what does that mean? Well, with the rapid growth of generative AI, chatbots like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google Gemini, and Claude by Anthropic, we're naturally seeing a rise of bots in online spaces. At the rate that AI is accelerating, we might also have to confront the possibility of it shaping a new digital internet culture. And with that comes changes that could impact how we communicate online. Robots taking over the world seems rather grim, but thankfully, we're not there yet, right? If you want to learn more...
So, essentially... Let me get the music on back here again. So, why am I even talking about this? I don't even know. What the fuck am I doing here? No. This is chilling. And an article from USNW... The truth is more sinister than the theory claims. Let's click on that real quick and I'll look at it. The dead internet theory. No, I don't want. The dead internet theory makes eerie claims about an AI run web. The truth is more sinister. So, If you search Shrimp Jesus on Facebook, you might encounter dozens of images of AI generated crustaceans meshed with various forms of stereotypical images of Jesus Christ. Some of these hyper-realistic images have garnered more than 20,000 likes and comments. So what exactly is going on here? The dead internet theory has an explanation. AI and bot-generated content has surpassed the human-generated internet. But where did this idea come from? And does it have any basis in reality? The dead internet theory essentially claims that activity and content on the internet, including social media accounts, are predominantly being created and automated by artificial intelligence agents. These agents can rapidly create posts alongside AI-generated images designed to farm engagement, clicks, likes, and comments on platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And I would also throw Twitter in there. As for Shrimp Jesus, it appears AI has learned it's the current latest mix of absurdity and religious iconography. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, to go viral. But the dead internet theory goes even further. Many of the accounts that engage with such content also appear to be managed by artificial intelligence agents. This creates a vicious cycle of artificial engagement, one that has no clear agenda and no longer involves humans at all. At first glance, the motivation for these accounts to generate interest may seem obvious. Social media engagement leads to advertising revenue. If a person sets up an account that receives inflated engagement, they may learn to earn a share of advertisement revenue from social media organizations such as Meta. So, does the dead internet theory stop at harmless engagement farming? Or perhaps beneath the surface lies a sophisticated, well-funded attempt to support autocratic regimes, attack opponents, and spread propaganda? While the Shrimp Jesus phenomenon may seem harmless, there is potentially a long-term ploy at hand. As these AI-driven accounts grow in followers, many fake, some real, the high follower count legitimizes the account to real users. This means that out there is an army of accounts is being created. Accounts with high follower counts, which could be deployed by those with the highest bid. This is critically important as social media is now the primary news source for many users around the world. In Australia, 46% of 18 to 24-year-olds nominated social media as their main source of news last year. This is up from 28% in 2022, taking over from the traditional outlets such as radio and TV. Already there is a strong evidence social media is being manipulated by these inflated bots to sway public opinion with disinformation, and it's been happening for years. In 2018, a study analyzed 14 million tweets over a 10-month period in 2016 and 2017. It found bots on social media were significantly involved in disseminating articles from unreliable sources. Accounts with high numbers of followers were legitimizing misinformation and disinformation, leading real users to believe, engage, and reshare bot-posted content. This approach to social media manipulation has been found to occur after mass shooting events in the U.S. In 2019, a study found bot-generated posts on X, formerly Twitter, heavily contributed to public discussion, serving to amplify or distort potential narratives associated with extreme events. Most recently, several large-scale pro-Russian disinformation campaigns have aimed to undermine support for Ukraine and promote pro-Russian sentiment. Uncovered by activists and journalists, the coordinated efforts used bots and AI to create and spread fake information, reaching millions of social media users. On Twitter alone, the campaign used more than 10,000 bot accounts to rapidly post tens of thousands of messages of pro-Kremlin content attributed to U.S. and European celebrities, seemingly supporting the ongoing war against Ukraine. This scale of the influence is significant. Some reports have even found that nearly half of all the internet traffic in 2022 was made by bots. With recent advancements in generative AI, such as OpenAI's ChatGPT models and Google's Gemini, the quality of fake content will only be improving. Social media organizations are seeking to address the misuse on their platform. Notably, Elon Musk has explored requiring ex-users to pay for membership to stop bot farms. Social media giants are capable of removing large accounts of detected bot activity if they so choose. Bad news for our friendly shrimp Jesus. So here's my problem with all this. How do you fix it? These aren't separate. They're a network of control. And I know this is heavy stuff, guys, but let's pause for another commercial break here in just a second. Hang tight. All right. In a world of heavy bots spying on you, protect your freedom online. Nord hides your IP, blocks trackers, essential for patriots like you and I. If you go to NordVPN.com, use promo code DTOM, that gets you 2 years for the price of one plus extras at NordVPN.com. Don't let Big Brother tread on your data. We'll be right back. All right, now the other threats amplifying this nightmare. AI swarms, coordinated bots mimicking humans, creating synthetic consensus to distort reality. Guardian warns they could rig the 2028 election. I would even go as far as say the election this year. Disinformation. Bots spread 31% of fake news. Deep fakes. AI videos fooling voters. Privacy erosion. AI tracks everything, threatening free speech. Then you have foreign interference. China, Russia using bots to inflame tensions. A post on Twitter from Jonah Ascola. Russia, China, Iran, they have mastered the art of digital warfare. So we could be looking at a lot of disinformation, even more so. So if you recall, back in 2016, 2017, one of the reasons I got kicked off of Facebook and Twitter back then was because, I talked about this the other day, but because some of the groups I was involved in. And it's not that we were spreading dis or mis or whatever information. We were spreading truth that was labeled dis and misinformation because it wasn't agreed with by certain people. The problem is now is you honestly don't know what to believe on the internet. I told you this the other day. My wife, for example, constantly finds stories, and she, much like a lot of people, see whatever the story is, whatever the topic is, something that's going to grab your attention. It's like you fall into an algorithm, just like if you're on TikTok and you might see videos that I don't see, and I might see videos that you don't see, because our algorithms could be a little different. But it's a situation where the algorithms understand what you want to see. And then these bots dive into these algorithms and make sure that certain people see the things that they want them to see. And it creates engagement, enragement, and like I said before, most of the times you'll see stuff and people deem it rage bait. And for example, I follow a page on Facebook. It's the Generation or Gen X, whatever. And I just follow it because it's funny to see stuff back from when you were a kid and whatever. But lately, probably over the past 6 months or so, I've noticed that a lot of times there'll be stories on there. Just remember back in 1985, blah, 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 whatever the story is. And then it kind of dead ends on the story. And then you go to the first comment and it's like, click here for, whatever. And then I don't ever click on it because I know it's a way for whoever or whatever to get into your system. And that's the thing nowadays is most people are a lot smarter than the majority of the people on the internet. And you want to be very careful of what you're clicking on and what you're attaching files to your phone or your computer, iPad, whatever. Because that's how they gain information. Now, this stuff is being used by foreign nations. It's being used by our government. But it's also being used by hackers to gain information, your personal information. But I don't believe that, Russia or China, Iran, or even our government cares necessarily about your personal information, your banking information. There are people out there doing that, trust me. But these other entities are doing it to gain your emotions. And the reason I wanted to focus on this today, with everything that's going on recently in Minnesota and around the country with this ICE situation. And, we could talk about the shooting that happened on Saturday. And I gave you my thoughts on that. Was Pretty able to carry a gun and do what he did? Sure. Should he have gone about it differently? Most definitely. It's a very fine line for someone like myself who completely agrees with you being able to carry a gun. But I told you before, you have to have common sense in these situations when you're carrying a gun. Period. Did he deserve to get shot like he did? Absolutely not. But you could look at this in 5 different directions. If he didn't have a gun at the situation, would he have gotten shot? Probably not. Did he have anything to do directly with himself getting shot? By all accounts, from what we talked about the other day, it doesn't appear to be. It appears to be that when one of the officers was grabbing the gun to take it away from him out of his holster, it accidentally went off, which caused the other cops to react and thus killing this person. The interesting thing, or what's going to end up happening here, is there is currently an investigation going on right now. And it's a he said, she said. So the other day they come out and said that a judge came out and said they need to preserve the place and the evidence and so on and so forth. And then you have the federal government saying, well, that was already trampled upon by the protesters and there's nothing to, it's just a back and forth. And all I can think about when I started hearing this is what's going to happen. What I feel is going to happen is these, 5 or 6 ICE agents that were involved in this, especially the 2 or 3 that shot this guy, are going to probably face some sort of prosecution, some sort of inquiry, some sort of court, whether they go to Congress, whether it's a local judge, whatever it is. And what I fear is going to happen is this is going to be public. They're going to say these 5, 6, whatever agents, names, whatever, are going to be made public. And then if they get off or don't get any kind of punishment, what's going to happen? I referred to the other day when I talked about the Rodney King situation, to use that for an example. That as bad as it is now, how bad can it be? Or how bad will it be? And how much of this will be amplified by fake accounts on the internet, AI images, AI videos, because there's enough stuff on the internet, and that's how these AI bots and these hackers gain information. Sometimes you don't even know if who's talking is who's talking. I heard a video the other day, and it was Joe Rogan, and I don't remember the content of the video off the top of my head, because I could tell it was fake just because of the way Joe Rogan, quote unquote, was talking on the video. But there's enough, if there's a person out there, a celebrity, podcast host, mainstream media host, radio host, whatever, that puts out enough content, these computers are fast enough and quick enough and smart enough, and gosh darn it, people just like them. No, they can put stuff together quickly and put it out. And most of us scroll through the internet, scroll through whatever social media page you love, and it's going to come to you and it's going to grab your attention to piss you off. We have a situation coming up with an election in 2026. It's a midterm. Most people won't find it important, but it'll be a testing ground for 2028. And I fear that if the federal government, as it sits right now, can't grab a hold of what's going on, that's when I fear what I talked about the other day, with everyone clamoring for the Insurrection Act, which essentially is martial law, that we could be in a situation, and I'm talking to everybody out there. I'm talking to the people that are diehard MAGA, diehard Trump supporters, to the people that absolutely hate Donald Trump and hate the Republicans and hate the right. They're coming for all of us. This isn't a right versus left situation. It's a us versus them situation. So how does this all combine to destroy democracy? Here's the kicker. Alone, the bots are annoying, but together, they're democracy's doom. The dead internet plus swarms plus disinformation equals total manipulation. Synthetic politics erode trust. Bots fake grassroots support, making lies feel true. Echo chambers polarize us. Foreign bots exploit divisions. The result? Crisis in public knowledge. Northeastern warns it endangers democracy. Let me click on this article here. Can AI generated content be a threat to democracy? The wider use of AI in everyday life may lead to a crisis in public awareness and knowledge. A Northeastern researcher warns which can put democracy in danger. In the not too distant future, most of the information people consume on the internet will be influenced by AI, a Northeastern expert says. And while it is important, or it's impossible to slow the use of AI, it is crucial to understand AI's limits, both in what it cannot and should not do, and to adopt ethical norms for its development and deployment, says John Wybe, an associate professor of media innovation and technology. If not, democracy is in jeopardy, says Wybe, the author of AI and Epistemic Risk for Democracy, a coming crisis of public knowledge. Democracy today, he says, is a complex system of people collectively processing information to resolve problems. Knowledge and information that the public consumes play a key role in supporting democratic life. Chatbots can simulate human conversation and perform routine tasks effectively. And AI agents are autonomous intelligent systems that resolve customer requests by performing tasks without human intervention. They might soon replace humans, Wybe says, in such information fields as journalism, social media, moderation, and polling. As AI systems begin to create public narratives and begin to moderate and control public knowledge, there could be a kind of lock-in terms of the understanding of the world. AI and large language models are trained on and generate content based on past data about people's values and interests. They will continuously reinforce past ideas and preferences. Wybe says creating feedback loops and echo chambers. This risk of feedback loops, he says, will remain recurrent. In journalism, Wybe says AI might further be incorporated into newsrooms to discover and verify information, categorize content, conduct large-scale analysis of social media, and even generate automated coverage of events, including civic and government meetings. Entire municipalities or larger regions, so-called news deserts, might end up being covered by AI agents, he says. On social media, AI moderators, whose judgment is conditioned by outdated data and doesn't align with latest human preferences, Wybe says might over-moderate and erase users' posts and commentary, a vital space for modern human deliberation. If they can't keep up with the fast-changing environment of human context, chat modes may also be subject to feedback loops. Their actions will affect what becomes public knowledge. Excuse me. And or what humans believe to be true and worthy of attention. Shit. Need to take a drink. All right. So, a Clemson report. Now I'm going to sound like RFKJ here for a second. Clemson reports 686 bots in the 2024 election. 130,000 posts. Posts from Twitter, MAGA Cult 2, AI bot networks are exposed. So let me play this clip here. This is from the Turing Institute podcast on Dead Internet and AI Bubble. Let me pause this music. Just give me a good time to clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. Pause.
The original poster does admit that, and I quote, "Much of this falls squarely in the fringe territory with a healthy dosage of conspiracy theory." And they are not wrong. This post does go off in a lot of unexpected directions. However, an article in The Atlantic by Caitlin Tiffany, not long after the Agora Road post, does a pretty good job of pulling out the nuggets of reason. So I'd recommend it for anyone wanting to learn more without, the weird stuff. I think the thing that grabbed me most about this theory is the suggestion that many of today's viral conspiracy theories and misinformation campaigns could have been generated, or at least perpetuated, by bots entirely. The mother of all conspiracy theories, if you will.
That's really interesting because the last few months have seen a wave of viral mis- and disinformation campaigns sweeping the internet across the world. As some might have expected, there have been a lot of these campaigns, especially with elections taking place across the world, and some really wild tales. But we did also see very recently one example that I do want to talk about, which was the disinformation campaign surrounding the very devastating Southport attacks earlier this month that led to 6 days of rioting across the UK. It was just really unfortunate, and I think on a personal level it was probably the only time I've ever felt unsafe over here. Now, with all of this, I'm not suggesting that these events can be blamed on bots entirely. We know humans have very much been in the loop. But I do wonder how far any of these theories would have gone had there not been any bots involved at all. So what's going on here? Where are these bots coming from? What is the end goal, and just how responsible are they for this disinformation epidemic and, dare I say, the death of the internet?
So, essentially, you could ask the question. We had COVID, right? 5 years ago, whatever. And for the past 5 years, we asked, what's the next pandemic? Is it going to be this disease, that disease, disease X, blah, blah, blah. And you got to think, if the theory of the dead internet is true, 2016, 2017, it really ramped up in 2020 when COVID hit, with disinformation, misinformation. And the sad thing about that was our governments around the world fell into this loop of bullshit. Now, I'm not sitting here going to tell you that the internet or AI bots or whatever were responsible for the COVID pandemic. I personally believe that was 100% human driven by governments all around the world, including the ones right here in our own backyard, but also in your backyard, wherever you're listening to this from. But the spread of what was happening in other countries, wherever you live, you heard stories about what was happening in China or what was happening here or there, or whatever. How much of that was actually true, or how much of it was AI-driven news, so to speak, to fearmonger and prolong the pandemic? And could the next pandemic, so to speak, be this? Be AI? AI's extinction level is a risk to our freedom, not just in America, but this is a world situation. This could be something just as big, if not bigger, than what COVID was. Now, in America, we thrive on the ability of the First Amendment. We can fight back by demanding AI labels, relocalizing communities. Like I said earlier, used to be on Twitter, if someone posted something, it told you what region of the country and what country they were from. Now it doesn't do that. And if you click on someone's page, it might not even tell you what country that person is from or that organization is from. Now, I don't need to know where you're from. I don't need to know your address. I just need to know that you're human. The problem also is if you have foreign governments utilizing this to spread dis or misinformation around the world, it could easily be tied to a region of a country. So my fear is, at least in America, because like I said, we focus our lives around the Bill of Rights. Okay? Primarily in this country, we focus on two of them, the first and the second. Obviously, there's 10, and there's a lot more after that. But this country focuses on both sides of the coin on those two agendas, on those two rights. We call them God-given inalienable rights, given to you by God himself. The freedom of speech, the freedom to, express your opinions, the freedom to religion without persecution. When could the effects of bots and AI on social media put an end to that? After, when Twitter was ran by what was the name? Tom, the guy before. And you had alternative free speech platforms come out. Like you had Parler, and you had True Social, and you had, I don't even remember, there was a few of them. And they were overcome, they were taken out, they were demonetized, however they failed. And who's to say that they eventually just come after the First Amendment via social media? A lot of people on all sides, whether you're political or non-political, you utilize social media of some platform to be able to say what you want and do what you want. But when will that go away? Or could that go away? Now, back when they talked about banning TikTok in America because it was Chinese owned and disinformation, I can say this, that my fear was that it was going to be taken over by our government and controlled much like much like Facebook is. And since the change of TikTok and the new ownership of that company, You're not seeing quite the stuff you used to see on TikTok if you're an avid user of TikTok. And it's quite discerning that it is falling in that direction. But before we dive into any more of my thoughts here, let's get this last commercial out of the way here. Forgot to start my music back up. It was quiet. All right, one more break before we wrap up here, guys. Hang tight. All right, MyPillow. Get that patriotic sleep you deserve. Mike Lindell's got pillows, sheets, all American made. Use promo code DTOM for big savings at mypillow.com, guys. Rest easy, Merica. Hang tight, we'll be right back. All right, guys, so we've covered the dead internet from every angle. It's real. It's here. And combined with these threats, it's gunning for our republic. Don't let bots tread on you. Verify sources, support real humans, and question everything, guys. It's very important that, and I've said this, I've been saying this for the last couple of months now, that between social media, alternative media, and I would even vary to say that some of your mainstream media is basing a lot of its news off of these entities. Now, I self-admittedly will tell you that I'll scroll Twitter, I'll scroll through TikTok to get ideas for this show. Mainly because as much as it's important to talk about current events, sometimes it is boring to talk about current events because everybody's talking about current events. So I try to bring you a little levity, a little conspiracy action, but then I've started tying conspiracies to what we're being told. This right here could be the mother of all conspiracies that could actually end up being true. The dead internet is a thing. You know there's a shit ton of dis and misinformation on the internet. It is up to you to verify these things. And even if you're listening to a podcast, or even if you are on whatever social media you're on and you think that what you're seeing or reading or hearing is from a verifiable source, verify what that is. Just because it's, Joe Rogan or MSNBC or CNN or Fox or whatever, make sure it's real. Like I said before, these news agencies, whether they're mainstream or alternative, there's enough content out there that these bots and these AI, whether it's computer driven by machines or driven by a foreign entity, that doesn't mean that it's real. They could take the content that's out there and make up what they want to make up. And then, like I said, they're going to dig into the algorithms to attach these videos or these posts to the people that need to see, or that they want to have see them, so they can engage dissent. It also brings me back to what we talked about the other day with everything that's going on in Minnesota. How much of everything that's going on there, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's fake, but how much of this was started by bullshit and mis or disinformation to cover up different entities that we talked about the other day, the fraud scandal in Minnesota, the Epstein situation. And when are you guys, this show is a small show, guys. I'll admit it. I mean, we are ranked right now, currently, as last I looked at it, 36 in Conspiracy Podcast, which is pretty good for just some old schmuck doing a show. But I don't have tens of thousands of listeners listening to this. That's why it's important for you guys to share this. But when are the shows that are bigger than this, even if they're just a little bit bigger? Whereas if I'm getting a couple thousand listeners and maybe this show over here is getting tens of thousands or maybe 100,000 listeners. When are they going to start asking these same questions? When can we really find out? Because if enough of us start asking the same questions, it's going to be hard for them to avoid the answers. Surely they'll try, but it's up to us to control the narrative and not them. All right. That is all I have for you guys today. Like I said, it is Wednesday, January 28th. Guys, please make sure you share this with your friends. Share this on if you're on social media, on your social media platforms. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter, DTOM Podcast 1776, and also on other social media platforms. Don't Tread America, Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the TikToker. Guys, none of my shit is AI driven. None of my shit is mis or disinformation. It's just my ideas and my thoughts. If you want to look at it like that, then so be it. I don't care. Whatever. You got, other than that, guys, please make sure whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, you're following the show, you subscribe, whatever that button there is. And if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, guys, leave me a rating, please. I think 60% of my downloads come from Apple. I haven't got a new review on that thing for 10 months. I think I was looking at it the other day. So if you guys could help me out, those things help me fall into an algorithm of other people that will listen to this show. So if you could help me out with that. Also, don't forget to go to the website, DontTreadonMerica.com. And if you have any questions, concerns, anything you want to talk to me about, if you have anything that maybe I quite missed and you want me to expand on it, that's fine. Email me, DonQ@DontTreadonMerica. Other than that, guys, you have a great day, and I'll talk to you again this weekend. Peace.